All right, welcome back, branch office 2000. We are working on bank one valve cover today, and all the tribulations that come with it. We'll start off by applying a 20mm bead of silicone on both areas here that seals the gap between the front cover and the cylinder head itself. That's plenty. We'll squish out, fill up whatever gaps I may have down there. We're going to carefully set the timing cover on. Now we have a couple concerns when doing this, and they are these two lines right here. They do have a bracket that bolts to the cylinder head that are going to be in the way, and they're also in the way up top here. So if you're doing this job, I don't see where you really makes it any easier to try to take the other end of these off, so you're just going to have to, it should stay there for your view. I did put some engine assembly lube on the bottom roller of the high pressure fuel pump, and also on the chain All right, so it looks like we're good all around. There's a couple parts back there that could ruin our day, but they don't appear to be stuck in, so just one by one start slowly hand tightening our bolts. Now, 3 different size bolts used on this. The service manual says there's more than that, but this is what I took off. So we have these 8mm, we have these 6mm, and we have the engine hoist that has its own hex head in it. So they make it kind of nice in that the 8mm don't fit in the 6mm hole, so you can kind of start with that. Get those down in there. The rest are going to be the 6mm variety. And we're going to need a longer tool. Yep, T27 on the small ones. There are dowels in these valve covers that have to line up too. Otherwise you'll probably be cracking the valve cover or worse. So make sure you're getting those lined up. Now for the one that was broken. Watch the previous videos, you'll know what a tight spot this one is in to get to. In fact, I'm not sure I can get it with this. Okay, that's got them all pretty much finger tight except for the impossible one, which is a T30, which I may have a shorter one to get to it. Yes, we do have a Torx T30. Anyway, to go back over these smaller bolts use a Torx T30. The four along the intake use a T45 Torx bit. And the engine hoist, I believe, is going to be E12 on those two. So you have your three sizes, T27, T45, and E30. Like a bad game of bingo. Sorry for the dad joke. All that's left now to do is to do the final torque. With the final torque in mind, it's appropriate to note that Porsche uses two different types of cylinder heads on these engines. One being a sand cast, meaning that the aluminum assembly was cast in sand, and one being a die cast. Now, the difference between the two are location of the part numbers and the part numbers themselves. On the I believe it is on the sand cast, your part number will be down here right by the middle cylinder. And in our case, we have 946.105.135.45, meaning we have the die cast valve covers. And the reason that is important is that there are two different torque sequences, whether you have the sand cast or the die cast. So we will page forward to the die cast cylinder heads and use those specs. And they are as follows. Bolts 1 and 2, the front and the rear in the middle. You want to tighten those to 3 foot-pounds, otherwise known as 36 inch-pounds. I was going to try to do it without these long extensions, but there's nothing I have is going to get down in there, so here we go. Again, T27. And number 2. Now we got to do 13 and 14, which are our 2 hooks there. For that, we may need an extension, possibly. And those will be going to 17 foot-pounds, which is 204 inch-pounds. When you're doing this, and you have to use an extension, you want to choose the smallest extension you can find. So you do lose a little torque with the extension. Next, we're going to do 9 through 12. 9 through 12 are all the M8 bolts. So we're going to switch over to the T45. And 9 being the furthest one back. Actually, before we start torquing these, I'm going to screw them in a little more hand tight. And it just lists 9 through 12, so I guess you just go back to front. And our tightening is 7.5 foot-pounds, 111. Now it wants another 90 degrees out of them for the final tightening. So here we go. That's why you don't reuse bolts.